I stood on the porch of my own house, staring at the eviction notice taped to my front door. The paper fluttered in the October wind, and I could see the locks had been changed. My key hung uselessly in my hand. I smiled, pulled out my phone, and sent a text to my lawyer. They took the bait. Start filing. Let me back up. My name is Robert Chen, and I'm 67 years old. I've lived in Elmwood, Ontario for 42 years, in the same house my late wife Margaret and I bought when we got married. The house itself isn't anything special, a modest 2-story with white siding and blue shutters, but the workshop out back? That was our dream. Margaret designed it, and I built it with my own hands. She passed away 3 years ago from cancer, and that workshop is where I still feel closest to her. I have one son, Daniel, 38 years old, married to Ashley, father to my 2 grandchildren, Emily and Jack. For most of Daniel's life, I thought I'd raised a good man. He worked in commercial real estate, drove a nice car, lived in a bigger house than mine in the suburbs outside Toronto. But about 6 months ago, I started noticing things. It began with phone calls. Daniel would ask about my health in this overly concerned way, like he was documenting something. Dad, are you remembering to take your medications? I wasn't on any medications. Dad, did you pay your hydro bill this month? I'd paid my bills on time for 40 years. Dad, maybe it's time we talked about your living situation. I'm a carpenter by trade. I spent my career measuring twice and cutting once, reading blueprints, noticing when something doesn't fit right. And Daniel's questions? They didn't fit. Then came the visit in early August. Daniel and Ashley showed up unannounced on a Saturday morning. I was in the workshop, restoring an antique dresser I'd picked up at an estate sale. Ashley stayed in the car while Daniel came around back. Dad, we need to talk, he said, not even glancing at the dresser I'd been sanding. About what? About this place. It's too much for you. The yard, the upkeep, the stairs. Ashley and I have been talking, and we think it's time you considered a retirement community. Something with support services. I set down my sandpaper. I don't need support services, Daniel. I'm healthy. I take care of this place just fine. Dad, you're almost 70. Be realistic. What if you fall? What if something happens and nobody's around? Then I'll call 911 like anyone else. He sighed. The way you sigh at a stubborn child. We're just worried about you. This house is worth a lot of money now. You could sell it, move somewhere easier, have money for whatever you need. That's when I understood. This wasn't about my welfare. This was about money. I'm not selling, I said. Daniel's jaw tightened. We'll talk about this later when you're thinking more clearly. He left. I stood in the workshop, surrounded by Margaret's tools, the router she bought me for our anniversary, the table saw we picked out together, the hand planes she insisted I keep organized on the wall. I looked at the dresser I was restoring, at the dovetail joints I was carefully preserving, and I made a decision. I needed to know what Daniel was planning. I called my friend Tom Patterson. Tom's an accountant, semi-retired, and we've known each other since our kids were in school together. I explained the situation. Let me dig around, Tom said. If Daniel's having money troubles, there'll be traces. 3 days later, Tom called me back. Robert, sit down for this. Daniel's company is hemorrhaging money. He's got a failed development project in Mississauga, about $800,000 in the hole. His business partner is threatening to sue. He's been taking cash advances on his credit cards. How much debt are we talking? North of $1 million. Easy. I felt something cold settle in my chest. My son was desperate, and desperate people do desperate things. Thanks, Tom. I owe you. What are you going to do? I'm going to be ready. The next week, I called my lawyer, Patricia Wong. Patricia had handled Margaret's estate, and I trusted her completely. Patricia, I need to make some preparations, legally airtight ones. I explained what I suspected. Patricia listened, made notes, and then said, Robert, if Daniel tries what you think he's going to try, it'll be fraud. But we need evidence. We need to catch him in the act. How? We set a trap. We make it look like you're vulnerable, like he could actually pull this off. But we protect your assets in ways he won't see coming. Over the next 3 weeks, Patricia and I worked on my defenses. We set up a trust. We moved my important documents to her office. We had my Dr. Simmons, write a detailed letter certifying my mental competency. We installed hidden security cameras around my property, one covering the driveway, one covering the workshop, one covering the front door. Then came the hard part. I had to make everything look normal. I had to wait. In early September, I took a calculated risk. I told Daniel I was going on a trip. "Where to?" he asked. "British Columbia. I want to see the Rockies one more time before I'm too old to travel. I'll be gone about 3 weeks." I could hear the wheels turning in his head. 3 weeks. Plenty of time. "That's great, Dad. You should enjoy yourself. I'm leaving next Monday. Could you keep an eye on the place while I'm gone?" "Of course." I hung up and called Patricia. "He's going to make his move. Are you sure you want to go through with this?" I thought about Margaret, about the workshop, about the life we'd built, I'm sure. I didn't actually go to British Columbia. I went to Tom's cabin up near Minden, about 2 hours north. Tom had a cottage on a quiet lake, and he let me stay there. But I left my truck in the driveway at home, made it look like I'd taken a taxi to the airport. The cameras were recording everything. For the first week, nothing happened. Then, on day 8, the cameras caught Daniel and Ashley pulling into my driveway in the middle of the day. They had a locksmith with them. I watched the footage on my laptop from the cottage. The locksmith changed all my locks. Front door, back door, workshop door. Daniel paid him in cash. They went inside. Over the next few days, the cameras recorded everything. Daniel and Ashley removing furniture. Daniel bringing his business partner, a man named Mark Chen, no relation, to tour the property. Ashley packing up Margaret's belongings from the workshop, tossing them into garbage bags like they were trash. I called Patricia. "They're doing it. Don't come back yet. Let them think they're succeeding." 2 days later, the cameras caught something that made my blood boil. Daniel and Mark were in the driveway, shaking hands. Mark handed Daniel a check. They'd sold my house. The house where Margaret and I raised our son, where she died in the upstairs bedroom, where her spirit still lived in every corner. I packed my bag at Tom's cottage. "I'm going home. Be careful, Robert. I've been careful for 2 months. Now it's time to be direct." I drove back to Elmwood on a Wednesday afternoon. The October leaves were turning, painting the streets gold and red. I pulled up to my house and saw immediately that something was wrong. There was a real estate sign in the yard, sold, new curtains in the front window, a different doormat. I got out of my truck and walked up to the front door. I pulled out my key, the one I'd had for 42 years, and tried the lock. It didn't fit. I rang the doorbell. After a moment, Daniel opened the door. His face went white. "Dad, you're back early." "I'm back exactly when I planned to be back." "Why doesn't my key work, Daniel?" "Dad, we need to talk. Come inside." "This is my house. I don't need an invitation to come inside my own house." Ashley appeared behind him. She looked nervous. "Robert, maybe we should all sit down and—" "Why are my locks changed?" Daniel took a breath. "Dad, we've been worried about you, your memory, your decision-making. We consulted with a specialist, and they agreed that you're showing signs of cognitive decline. We had to act in your best interest." I smiled. I couldn't help it. He'd actually gone there. The dementia play. "What specialist?" "Dr. Mehta in Toronto. He reviewed your case and recommended supervised care." "Dr. Mehta? And when exactly did I see this Dr. Mehta?" Daniel's face flickered with uncertainty. "You don't remember? That's part of the problem, Dad." "And the house? Why is there a sold sign in the yard?" Ashley stepped forward. "Robert, the money from the sale will pay for your care. There's a lovely facility in Oakville with full services, activities, everything you'd need. How much did you sell it for?" Silence. "How much, Daniel?" $520,000. I laughed. Actually laughed. "This house is worth at least $750, probably $800 in this market. Who did you sell it to?" "A private buyer. Mark Chen. He's willing to take it as is." "Which, your business partner?" Daniel blinked. "How did you really think I wouldn't notice you circling my life like a vulture, Daniel? Did you think I'm actually senile?" "Dad, You're not well. You're confused. We're trying to help you. I pulled out my phone. Then you won't mind if I call this Dr. Mehta right now and ask about my appointment. Don't bother him, Dad. He's very busy. Or maybe I'll call my actual doctor, Dr. Simmons, who's been my physician for 20 years and who examined me 2 months ago and certified that I'm in perfect mental health. Ashley grabbed Daniel's arm. Daniel, maybe we should. Or maybe, I continued, I'll call my lawyer, Patricia Wong, who has copies of all the legal documents you forged, the power of attorney you faked, the medical assessment that doesn't exist, the sale of property you don't own. Daniel's face went from white to red. You can't prove any of that. Actually, I can. I have security footage of you changing my locks, of you removing my property, of you and Mark shaking hands over a check. I have documentation of your financial troubles. I have your fake medical claims. And I have a very angry lawyer who's been waiting for me to give her the go-ahead to file charges. You set me up. Daniel's voice was quiet, shocked. You set yourself up, son. I just gave you the rope. Ashley started crying. We were desperate. The business, the debt. We were going to lose everything. So you decided to steal from me? It wasn't stealing. Daniel's voice rose. You would have given me the money anyway when you died. We just needed it now. No, Daniel. I would have given money to my son if he'd asked for help. I would have helped you navigate your business problems, maybe co-signed a loan, something legal. But you didn't ask. You decided to declare me incompetent, forge documents, and sell my home out from under me. My home, the place where your mother died, where her workshop still stands. That workshop is just junk, Dad. Old tools and sawdust. Something broke in me then. Get out. This is my house now. This sale is fraudulent and will be voided. You're standing in my home, which you've unlawfully occupied. You have 10 minutes to leave before I call the police. Dad, please. 9 minutes. Ashley pulled Daniel toward the door. Let's go. Daniel, let's just go. They left. I watched them get in their car and drive away. Then I walked through my house, seeing what they'd changed. New furniture in the living room. Margaret's paintings removed from the walls. The kitchen reorganized. I walked out to the workshop. The door was padlocked, but I had bolt cutters in my truck. I cut through the lock and stepped inside. They'd cleaned it out. Margaret's tools were gone. The workbench was empty. The dresser I'd been restoring was nowhere to be seen. But they hadn't looked up. Above the rafters, behind the insulation I'd installed myself, were the things that actually mattered. Margaret's jewelry, our photo albums, the love letters we'd written to each other over the years, the hand-drawn plans she'd sketched for this very workshop. I'd moved them all 2 months ago, the day after Tom told me about Daniel's debts. I called Patricia. File everything. Are you sure? Once we start this, there's no going back. I'm sure. The legal process moved quickly. Patricia filed for emergency relief, citing the fraudulent sale and unlawful occupation. Within 48 hours, we had a court order voiding the sale and granting me possession of my property. Daniel and Mark were ordered to appear for a hearing. The hearing was scheduled for a Friday morning at the Barry Courthouse. I drove up with Patricia through the autumn countryside, past farms and forests blazing with color. Inside the courthouse, I saw Daniel for the first time since our confrontation. He looked terrible, unshaven, exhausted, defeated. Ashley sat beside him, staring at her hands. Mark Chen sat on the other side, with his own lawyer. The judge was a woman named Justice Maria Rodriguez. She was about 50, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She read through the file, then looked up at Daniel. Mr. Chen, do you dispute that you changed the locks on your father's property without permission? Daniel's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client acted in good faith, believing his father required care. Do you dispute the facts? Yes or no? No, Your Honor. Do you dispute that you sold the property to Mr. Mark Chen for $520,000? No, Your Honor. Do you have documentation showing that your father granted you power of attorney? Daniel's lawyer shuffled papers. We have a notarized power of attorney document. Which is forged, Patricia interrupted, standing. We have testimony from the notary whose seal was used. She never notarized this document. We also have testimony from Dr. Mehta, the physician allegedly claiming Mr. Robert Chen was incompetent. Dr. Mehta has never met Mr. Chen and did not produce any assessment. Justice Rodriguez looked at Daniel. Is this true? Daniel didn't answer. Mr. Chen, did you forge these documents? Yes, Your Honor. The courtroom was silent. And Mr. Mark Chen, the judge turned to Daniel's business partner. You purchased a property for well below market value from someone who claimed to have power of attorney over an allegedly incompetent person. Did you verify any of this? Mark's lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client relied on the representations made by Mr. Daniel Chen. Your client is a real estate professional. He knew or should have known that a $500,000 sale price on a property worth nearly twice that amount was suspicious. What was your relationship with Daniel Chen? Business partners, Your Honor. So you had a financial interest in helping him access money? Mark didn't answer. Justice Rodriguez removed her glasses. I'm voiding the sale effective immediately. Mr. Robert Chen is restored to full possession of his property. As for criminal charges, I'm referring this matter to the Crown Attorney's Office for investigation of fraud, forgery, and elder abuse. She looked at Daniel. Mr. Chen, what you did to your father is despicable. You exploited his trust, forged legal documents, and attempted to steal his home, the home he shared with his late wife, your mother. I hope you understand the magnitude of what you've done. Daniel started crying. Ashley put her arm around him. This hearing is concluded. We stood. I walked out of the courtroom, through the lobby, into the October sunlight. Patricia followed. Robert, are you okay? I took a breath. I will be. What do you want to do about Daniel? The Crown will likely pursue charges, but you could request leniency if... No leniency. He made his choice. He's your son. He was my son. What he did, Patricia, he threw away Margaret's tools. He sold our memories like they were garage sale junk. That's not something a son does. That's not something a person who loves you does. We drove back to Elmwood. Tom met me at the house, along with a locksmith who changed all the locks back. Patricia had the fraudulent sale paperwork filed away. The real estate sign came down. Over the next few weeks, I worked on reclaiming my space. I replaced the furniture Daniel had sold with pieces from Margaret's and my original collection, things I'd moved to storage. I rehung her paintings. I reorganized the kitchen exactly how she'd had it. The workshop took longer. I had to replace tools, rebuild my inventory, restore the space. But slowly, it came back to life. Daniel did face charges: fraud, forgery, attempt to commit theft, over $5,000. His lawyer negotiated a plea deal, 18 months of probation, community service, restitution of legal fees. Mark Chen faced separate charges and settled out of court. Ashley called me once, about 6 weeks after the hearing. Robert, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted to apologize. What we did was wrong. I was scared about losing everything, and I went along with Daniel's plan. And I'm so sorry. How are Emily and Jack? I asked. They're okay. Confused. They ask about you. Tell them Grandpa loves them. And tell them that when they're older, they can come visit if they want to. But not Daniel. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I understand. She hung up. On a cold day in early December, I was in the workshop working on a new project, a rocking chair. I'd found Margaret's original sketches for one she'd wanted me to build, and I was finally doing it. The door opened, and Tom walked in with 2 coffees. Thought you could use a warm-up, he said. Thanks. We sat on the workbench, sipping coffee, watching snow begin to fall outside. How are you doing, Robert? Really? I thought about it. I'm sad, angry, disappointed, but I'm also relieved. Relieved? I know who Daniel really is now. There's no more pretending, no more wondering if I raised him right or where things went wrong. He made his choices. And I know I did the right thing, protecting what Margaret and I built together. You did. I just wish it hadn't come to this. I know. We finished our coffee in silence. Tom left, and I went back to work on the rocking chair. The wood smelled like cedar, clean and sharp. My hands moved through familiar motions, measuring, cutting, sanding, fitting pieces together. In the spring, I finished the chair. I set it on my front porch, facing the street, and sat in it for the first time. It rocked smoothly, perfectly balanced. I thought about Margaret, about the life we'd built, about the son we'd raised who'd lost his way, about the home we'd made together that I'd fought to keep. The chair rocked, and I smiled, knowing she'd be proud of me for standing my ground. To listen to the next story, click on the video on your screen. Subscribe to Shattered Vengeance for more true stories of justice, and leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. Thank you for listening.